Okay, good evening. The time being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call to order the Somersworth Historic District Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 26, 2025. And first on the agenda is approval of minutes from February 26th regular meeting. Do we have any comments or motions on that?
Make a motion to accept.
All right, we have a George motions to accept them.
Don't forget
by Ms. Schoen.
microphone.
Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? One abstention. Actually, I should point out we've got 8 people here tonight, so I'll actually appoint all the alternates except for Tim, so that we have the full 7 voting members.
Hold on, point of order. How many open positions do we not have in attendance tonight?
So we're a 7-member board.
Yeah.
So we have 8 people here. So we have 3 alternates here tonight, which is...
Are we up to 3? Because I know Liz and Kim were both...
I believe, is Liz alternate?
No.
Yeah, she's...
That's why I'm making sure we
yeah.
have an...
Yeah,
okay.
so I believe Mr. Powers, Mr. Merrick, and Mr. Matevia are all the alternates. So Mr. Powers and Mr. Merrick will be the 2 voting members for tonight. All right. Moving on to projects of minimal impact. Do we have anything, Ms. Mears?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. 48 Mount Vernon Street came in for an application for an in-kind roof replacement. That was approved. And that's it.
All right. Move on to public comments by visitors. Do we have anyone here that would just like to speak to anything in general? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. We have no old business that I see before us. Moving on to new business. We have Fabian Flanagan is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to replace and extend a pool deck on a property located at 64 Winter Street in the residential single-family A with historic overlay district, assessors map 12, lot 23, HDC case number 06-2025. Ms. Mears, do you have any info on this?
Yes, so the applicant is proposing to replace pool deck and extend the deck on the north side by 4 feet. Material is proposed to be Trex clamshell decking with 36-inch high Trex rail. The property integrity is overall good integrity, diminished by aluminum siding, alteration to the side porch, and replacement windows. This application is ready for the board to review.
Okay. I'd just like to give a little detail on this because obviously any of these minimal or major impact projects have to be signed off by the chair, the planning and community development. Sorry, missed me. It says planning and community development. I'm drawing a blank on the exact title, and then the code enforcement officer, I believe, the 3 of us have to sign off on this. I actually wanted to consider this minimal impact, but by definition, it's not. So I felt it had to go before the full board just by our definitions and the way the ordinance is written. But at the same time, being that this is a pool, it's not attached to the house and so on. I almost wanted to sign off on it, but I chose not to and put it before the full board. I don't know if the full board could deem this as minimal impact as one of our options. Do you have an answer on that, Ms. Mears, if we, as a board, could do that?
I think the board could make a motion to do that, perhaps.
My personal opinion on this?
I wanted to have this discussion because I wasn't, I was kind of really tossed up on this.
Yeah, it's one of those gray areas, right? Like, having done that, I understand why this is great. For me, I would have been okay approving this as minimal if there was no extension, but because there's an extension, I agree that it should have came before the full board, in my personal opinion on that.
Okay. Is there anybody else's discussion or opinions here that? Ms. Nguyen?
Yeah, actually, just building off of what you're saying, you know, you have to think about it. If it wasn't a pool, if it was some other thing in the backyard, you know, what would be the limits? What's the point at which, you know, how big could somebody build something in the backyard and it not be considered? So I think for that reason, we should be reviewing it.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought too, is obviously sheds, garages, they're all structures, but pools, you know, and one of the reasons I had this mindset with this is pools simply are not historic, in my opinion. They're a relatively new feature. I mean, I think it was the 1940s or 50s that they became a popular thing. I know they date far back before that, but not as a residential commonplace use. You know, also it's not attached to the house, it's not a covered structure. There's a lot of reasons why I really did want to consider it minimal impact, but I wanted to let the whole board have a discussion on this, and I think I'd like to revisit this in the miscellaneous at the end of the night anyway, but if everybody's comfortable moving forward as a major impact, that's what we'll do. If there's no motion to make it minimal, we'll just move on as a major impact. All right, so with that being said, we'll obviously have an applicant here, if you don't mind coming up to the podium, and we know you've been here before, so I think you're familiar with how this works, and welcome back.
I think most of you know me by now, but I'm Fabian Flanagan. The way the north side of the pool is, I mean, basically the deck around the pool, you cannot put a lounge chair or anything. And on the north side, what they did is they tilted like the railing in a way to make it a bench. So if it is already that extra 4 feet, all I want to do is eliminate that bench so that you can put a lounge chair or something, enjoy the deck. And it will be, you know, enclosed, obviously, and with a gate and lock and all that it needs, since like the property is not fenced all around. It's the same contractor, same building material that they did the stairs. And we did end up having to put a railing on the left side because the stoop, yes, is at 36 inch, but the land is on a slope. So at the bottom, it's not 36 anymore. So by the main door, yeah, there was no problem there. It's only on the enclosed porch. But the building inspector came in and I said, well, what do I do now? And he says, got to do it to code. So I did it to code. But the pool, I didn't know if I had to come in front of the board. You can't see it from the front of the property. It's not attached to the house. It's obviously, I don't know when that pool was built, when the deck was made, but right now it's a wooden deck, and I shouldn't. It's not dangerous as far as you're gonna walk and you're gonna go through, but all the wood is starting to rot, so you get splinters and everything. And I do have grandchildren, you know, coming, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. So I wanted to be able to redo that deck before I open the pool late May.
All right. Well, if we'll just move into questions unless you have more you want to add.
Do you have anything further before I ask a question?
Tommy?
Do you have anything further you want to add before I ask you a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Ms. Berry, we'll start with you.
I just wanted to make sure, I think you already said it, but this does not attach or abut like a patio or anything to do with the house, correct?
No.
Okay. That was honestly my only question.
Any other comments, questions?
I have a comment.
Ms. Berry?
Anybody else have questions before I start commenting? I'm okay with this. I look at this as a temporary structure, kind of to our previous comments around should this be minimal, should this be not. Like the applicant said, this is not viewable from a public right-of-way. And again, I think this could be easily dismantled if ever needed. It's not going to bring down any historic feature on the house. Can be easily just wiped away when needed. So I have no problem with this.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll just say I agree with Laura. This is in the back. It's got Sits by itself. Can't see it from the road. There's already one there. I got no problem with it.
I'll just chime in and say the same thing. I really did want to approve this as minimal. I don't think that a pool structure really falls into a historic context, especially whereas it's not attached to the house. It does sit far back. You can see it a little bit from the road, but of course it's wintertime. There's no leaves. I'm sure once the leaves
Well,
fill in,
yeah,
probably-
now there's no leaf. You can see a tiny bit, but once,
Yeah.
you know, there's really behind the woods. Once the leaves are there, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Um,
So, unless we have any other comments or questions, I guess I'd be looking for a motion.
I'll put a motion to accept as presented.
We have a second? Seconded by Mr. Powers. Any discussion on the motion? No? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. You have your certificate of appropriateness granted.
Okay, I just have one question. I don't know if you can answer it, but since you all approve it, thank you very much. I know the building inspector had to come after and check it all that, but from the time I have the permit, is it like 6 months for completion?
I think you have a year to do that, and our approval carries with the building permit, so as long as the building permit's active, so is the approval.
And then it's 6 months for a building permit. 6 months, once you submit the building permit, you have 6 months to complete the project.
6 months to work on it.
To work on it.
Okay, because I wanted to know, like, if I change my mind and decide not to do it at all, once I have the permit, I have to finish, or I can cancel the permit?
I don't believe there's anything forcing you to complete the project once you have a permit. But maybe Mr. Matevia can.
Once
enlighten
you
us.
receive the permit would be valid for 6 months with no work being done on it. After that, if you wanted to continue the permit application, you'd have to apply for an extension.
Okay.
If you work on the permit is valid for 1 year as long as you're making progress. And then at the end of that 1 year, typically if you're still working on it, it's just continued. And if you're not just working on it and you're puttering at it, you may want to apply for an extension prior to the expiration of 1 year. But they can be granted extensions up to 180 days at a whack. So if you choose not to build it, then you just didn't build it. But it will expire after 6 months.
Okay, because I said, you know, if I do it and I go ahead and I pay for the permit, and then, I don't know, the way life is going, something happen, and I can't do it. What happened to I get the money that I spend for the permit?
I'll defer to the department chair.
No. I knew that answer.
So the best chance for me would be to extend it if anything happened.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Because we're gonna have a death in the family, and I don't know when.
So to help you though, this approval is good for
1 year.
1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can apply for the building permit in 364 days from now,
Next year.
right? And then you're good for 6 months or a year after that.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
again.
Have a good evening. All right, do we have any other new business before the commission? Seeing none, we'll move into workshop business. Do we have any workshop business?
I can just give a quick update. I have sent over the 3 addresses to the school to start working on the plaques. I'm waiting to hear that they're done. I'm going to try a couple of different painting techniques because they did not like the idea of doing like a film over it because it could hurt the machine. It could cause problems. So I'm looking into alternatives, whether it's just putting paint in it and kind of moving it around, or like maybe a rubber cement and peeling that off. So I'm going to look into once I have those. I've also asked the city to get me information for the other 2 plaques so I can reach out to them to make sure they're amenable to receiving the plaque. If one of them is not, we can use it as a test, as a sample. And if not, then I will get the workshop back together once I have more of that information.
Any other workshop, Mr.
Well, I have some more to tag along with what Laura said too, that she had asked me if I could begin collecting more of the blanks, and that collection has begun. I'm waiting for them to get more than one or two before I collect them, but it's going to be not 12 by 12, but 12 by 11 and 12 by 10 and a quarter, the one size less, and which fits within the signed parameters that we already have anyway. And it's an unlimited supply, so he's just collecting them for me, and he'll let me know when I go pick them up. So there'll be plenty.
Perfect, thank you. Any other workshop business? Seeing none, we'll move into communications and miscellaneous. Just something, obviously we had 8 members here tonight. That's great news. It's rare that we have the full 7. It's probably been a first in a long time. Even though we've got 8 members here, we don't have a full board. We are actually shy, I believe, 2 full members. And because we're not missing anybody, I'm not forgetting anyone, am I?
No.
So like everybody is here tonight, which thank you for all coming at once. But I know that the city posts up on the website recently updates to boards and commissions, any vacancies. I noticed that said we have 2 vacancies on the full members and 2 alternates. So I believe that might be an error, but obviously we still need more. If anybody's willing to sign up and apply, definitely appreciate it. I guess I just wanted to clarify who was on what part of, whether they're full member or alternate, because it's not often we actually need to do that and kind of count someone out on a vote. But any other thoughts or discussion?
Just a
on that?
quick thought on that. If you are an alternate and you want to be a full member, you do have to apply again. It doesn't just automatically happen for our alternates. I'm going to look at all 3 of you and just put that out there, that you would have to apply, and please try to do that.
Good enough.
It would be you can't vote unless there's an open position from a full-time member as an alternate. Like, you can give opinion, but you would not be part of the vote unless we were missing a full-time member.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 7-member board, so there's supposed to be 7 here, but we can work on a smaller amount if need be, but the alternates allow us to fill in any vacancies each month, and we have 3 alternates. So we have 10 full positions, 7 are full members, 3 are the alternates, and the alternates just simply fill in. Normally, everybody here is a voting member. This is one of the first times that, I think it's the first time ever we've had to kind of set someone aside and say you're not a voting
I think
member.
the last time, if I recall, was when Arthur was on the board. We might have had a couple of meetings where everyone showed, but that's been a long time.
Definitely
No,
has
not
been.
when I've been here. Not happened when I've been here.
And of course, even as an alternate, you're always welcome to sit here, join in the discussion. Just when we have more than 7, there's someone that won't be voting that's an alternate. So but I encourage you to show up, and it just adds to the discussion and make sure we have a full board either way. So again, thank you for showing up, everybody. Any other thoughts, comments on that? All right. And one more thing I'd like to bring up in communications miscellaneous, with this pool that we had, I really did feel that it should have been minimal. I mean, we really had very little discussion on it as it was. I don't know how we'd write that into it. It would be an ordinance change to add that in somehow, but I also know that it's been at least 5, maybe 6 years since we did anything with our ordinances and standards for review, and I'm wondering if it might be a good time to revisit some of them standards for review. I know that when we did address them last, siding was something that we never really tackled fully. We kind of shunned it off and said we'll do that later, and here it is 5 or 6 years later, we haven't gotten to it. I think it'd be a good thing to tackle. I think porches was another one that could have used a little more work, and if anybody has any other ideas, I'm willing to listen. I think it'd be a good idea to do this, and willing to hear what other people think on that topic.
I think the the signage needs to be revisited, because we're regularly approving signs that are not wood, and it says it should be wood, so,
Yeah, I think there is some contradiction there.
yeah.
And so definitely we could put that on the list.
I
And
feel
I-
like we have to look at that. I thought we said anything carved, or did that not make it in?
I
Off
think
the top
this,
of my head, I just can't remember.
so I think the ordinance is one part of it where it outlines what is minimal, what's major, and what's exempt. And I think that contradicts with the standards for review, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look into it to be 100% on that, but I believe it's that sort of situation. And it could even be something within the sign ordinance as well, but obviously we don't have any say over that part of the ordinances.
I just had one question, comment around that. I'm always for a relook, but I do think we might want to hold off until after we have our, hopefully happens, depending on how our funding goes, but the workshops that are going to be coming up. I know that's not the right word, but
Okay.
So I have a few updates. The city is working on a downtown parking study, and we need volunteers to help collect data. It's going to be April 24th, which is a Thursday, from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and April 26th, which is a Saturday. I'll send out additional information. We also have a flyer that's going to be going out. Basically, we're collecting data every hour to see how many cars are parked downtown and how frequently they're leaving. So,
Sounds exciting.
yeah, it is.
How many
Volunteers
hours
for
does
the
that
whole day.
entail?
It's broken up into hour shifts, or you can sign up for as long as you want. But we need 3 volunteers each hour.
And that's what I mean, is how many hours? Do they do this, like 2 or 3 hours, 8 hours?
From 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
So
all
about
day.
12 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
In 1 hour increments.
in
Yes.
1 hour increments.
So you can sign up for 2 or you can sign up for 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly, or 1. So, we also received word from New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources that we did receive our funding for the Historical and Cultural Resources Master Plan chapter in the camp. So staff is working on an RFP for the Historical Master Plan chapter, and we are finalizing camp. So that will be from 9:30 to 2:45 on June 7th. And we'll be sending out the flyer for that. Anna's working on that. And we'll be here in council chambers. We've already had a couple of people reach out from actually Portsmouth Historic District and Bedford Historic District about attending this, so we're pretty excited about this event. And that's it.
Anything else? So-
I'll say it if.
I was just going to say, back to the standards for review idea, I definitely can agree with maybe waiting for the camp thing, but would it not be improper to start tackling it and come up with some ideas or some direction that, so we know what we need to really look at and tackle, even if we wait till after the camp sessions to take action on it?
One of the reasons I mean, you're the chair, you can do what you want. Personally, I thought because one of the things we wanted as a camp conversation was our ordinances and some suggestions, like, because we can start running down an area and then find out maybe that's not the best way to go. So I just don't want to see people like go down a rabbit hole and have to rethink the whole thing. It's the only reason I say it might be more beneficial to wait to have that conversation, get the thoughts going, but just, that's me.
Mr. Matavia?
I would agree. I think we should be educated at what their views are first, and then based on that education, make decisions on what changes we may want to make.
Fair enough. You have sound, Mr. Powers? No. I saw your hand up. So. All right. Any other discussion?
Just one thing.
Mr. Pullen?
Do we have a copy of the stuff we approved the last time when we did this? Because those in that book, I think me and Rich are probably the only ones that have that book anymore.
I left mine in the trunk.
Yeah.
You should all have the
Um,
book.
And they're all, I'm sure they're all, I don't think, I wrote in mine, but I didn't put the new ones in it.
I think we got new ones at the time, but
Yes.
it has been a while, so
If I remember, I got new pages
Yeah.
yeah, that's
to pull out the old and insert the new.
I.
But
That's what I recall.
It was like
happening.
5-6 years ago. I don't remember yet.
Yeah.
There was
guess-
also multiple copies going around at the time, and unfortunately, our final copy from the HDC did not make it to the council, and that's not what they voted on. So we might want to look at a couple of copies around that time, because like, I know we had said black chain link fences can be used in certain scenarios, and that did not make it into the copy that city council voted on. So, and that might be like with the signs where I thought we said it could be carved, and maybe it didn't make it into the copy that actually made it to council.
Yeah.
So
But
we
it-
might want to look at
But
some.
I think whatever was approved by council, we got a copy of
Correct.
after the fact. So, you know, I guess it would be worth making sure that we all have the updated, proper stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, I
we're
think
happy to
that's-
make copies for any of the members that
I'd
don't
appreciate
have it.
Would
Yeah.
it, would it be
Thank
possible,
you.
would it be possible to get the, standards review and our ordinances emailed to us?
Yeah.
Just so that we can compare with whatever we have in our, whatever notebook or
Yeah.
paper form we have, just to verify, so we can all check and make sure that we have the up-to-date ones. And,
Also download it into a PDF then and actually put it into a modifiable, put it into a Word document so we can type if we have drafts. Somebody emails it, it's pretty transferred to a Word.
yeah, I mean, well, I might not use the right terminology for this, but yeah, just something that's,
Edible.
so we have an act, we don't need it editable, we just need to have
Something to compare.
something to verify that we have the proper thing, and that way if we don't, if we want a paper copy that's not, that is accurate and up to date, we can get one printed out. Yeah. So, I'm sure Ms. Mears can handle that, and thank you for doing so.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else?
I have a couple of things if no one else does. I just want to remind everybody that there will be a museum lecture coming up, and it's going to be a hot one because it turned people away last time, so I'm hoping everybody will go and partake because it's supposed to be good.
Tickets are limited.
Tickets are limited, but please say the name of the lecture because I'm going to say the wrong thing. Yeah.
What is
Well,
it?
he was not going to do it.
What's the lecture?
Pat Boyle.
It's about an investigation that unsolved in
Oh,
Somersworth.
The trunk mysteries, the murders, the kids, the babies?
He was the
Yes.
head detective, the chief detective on the job.
And this is his second
Yeah.
one because the first one was too crowded and he had turned people away.
Yeah.
When is the second one gonna be?
You had to ask me.
Oh, I have it in the phone. Hold on.
April 16th.
So,
I think I saw it advertised on Chronicle.
You have to have a ticket. You have to have a ticket to get in, so if you need a ticket, you come to the museum 2 weeks before, which would be
coming up. My only other thing was there is going to be a cleanup of the city of Somersworth, and sorry, I have to look at my calendar as well. That is going to be April 12th. I believe it's at 9 to 10 a.m. We're meeting at the high school. I would encourage everybody to come because it's a great day. It gets people out walking our city and especially our historic district. So that was my only other thing.
Is that Earth Day?
That is Earth Day, yes.
what day was it, April?
12th. It's a Saturday. So I'd love to see everybody out and especially have our board well represented.
It used to be named
Yes, at the high school.
Spirit Up Somersworth, if I recall.
Yeah, that's the Reds Road Race. Fortunately.
Anything else?
Laura, do you know who's organizing that this year?
Nancy Cameron.
Nancy?
And there is a competition for whichever ward gets the most people. So they'll ask you what ward you're from. So I'd love to see, again, our historic district and our museum wards really represented.
Sorry, Reds Race.
Yeah, put the plug out there, but
Anything else? Any motions to adjourn, maybe?
You'll be done in an
Motion to
hour.
adjourn.
I won't be.
Motion to adjourn by George. Any others? Seconded by Ms. Berry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? We are adjourned.